live now. Hi everyone. Thank you for joining our live stream, and this will be uploaded as a video after this is over if you couldn't finish it or if you want to watch it later. And so if you are new to my channel, I do college beauty and lifestyle related videos. Occasionally I'll do interviews like this, or I will do commentary. So if that's what you're interested in, don't forget to check that out and subscribe. So today we have a guest, and her name is Kathy Xu, and we will be interviewing her about her political beliefs, her hobbies, and her being called a white supremacist despite being Chinese, and her experience with the Miss Michigan pageant. So if you don't know who Kathy is, she is a 21-year-old political science major at the University of Michigan. She is a conservative speaker and a Donald Trump supporter. This past July, Xu was stripped of her Miss Michigan title for tweets deemed as offensive by the beauty pageant organization. Recently, Xu has been under fire by conservative followers for supporting gay marriage. She has gained quite the following in the past few months. On Instagram, she has over 39K followers and has way over 100K followers on Twitter. So with that, thank you, Kathy, for coming on. I really appreciate it, and as a journalism student, I'm just honored to interview you. Did I miss saying your last name right?
No, you're good.
Okay. So before we get into anything political or any questions, I already talked to Kathy about this, but I just wanted to point out two things that I really admire about her, and the reason why I brought her onto this program. So one thing is I admire people who willingly speak out their beliefs and are true to what they believe, because it is really difficult at times to speak your truth, even if you're usually when your opinions and your thoughts are unpopular, and usually when you know you're going to get hate for it. And this is something that Kathy has been dealing with, especially because she's in the middle, where she has conservative and liberal beliefs, and both sides just hate her. And it's really hard to be in that position. And so whether you're conservative or liberal, that's something that I want people to understand, is be true to your beliefs. Second thing that Kathy does is that she makes it known that whether you're conservative, conservative or liberal or independent, that you don't have to 100% align with any one ideology. I mean, that's a lot to ask of people, because people a lot of times are in the middle on a lot of issues. And I think that that's something that needs to be talked about more, especially in this era of polarization. And speaking of polarization, Kathy will know this because she's a political science major. We have been in a polarization era since the 1990s, but it's been getting worse because of things like Donald Trump getting elected, where people are fired up. People are stuck in their ideology, whether they're liberal or whether they're conservative. And this is a concern that we should have as a nation, where we can't even have conversations like this without people getting fired up, without people calling people names or unfriending people. And so a cornerstone of this channel is opening my small following to a new perspective. And that's what I want to do with Kathy today, and let her tell her side, clarify some things to her followers that might have been a misconception. So before we do that, let's get to know Kathy, because she's known for her conservative beliefs, but Kathy is much more than her belief system. So Kathy, who are you? What are your hobbies? What do you want to do in your future?
Yeah, so I'm a poli-sci major, as you said. I go to U of M, and I'm a senior this year, so I'm graduating soon. I have been playing music for a long time. I play 4 instruments: violin, piano, guitar, and ukulele, and I've been in love with music. I'm in my college orchestra, and I went to an art school from middle to high school. So very in tune with the arts, and that may be considered liberal, but I think that it's really important for people to have their own hobbies outside of politics.
Do you have any other hobbies besides the ones that you mentioned?
Yeah, I love playing tennis. I'm not that good at it, but I love sports. I love working out. I have a dog. I love animals. Just typical human stuff.
You mentioned that you do a lot of stuff related to music, and I know you have a channel where you do covers. Yeah. And you recently published your first vlog.
Yes.
So is YouTube something that you want to start branching into and doing stuff aside from just politics?
Yeah, for sure. I think that politics was just something that I love speaking out about because there was a lot of, for example, in high school, all of my friends were liberal because it was a liberal arts school. So that was, to be known. But I started talking about my opinions, and that's how I gained a following. I wasn't trying to get a following, but when I started talking about it, people think, wow, an Asian conservative that is, with us in our, I guess, alignment. It's super cool to follow. So that's probably why people like to follow me. But other than that, I mean, I would love to branch out into YouTube and start my own thing aside from politics. Not because like I want it as a career or anything, but just because I enjoy uploading videos, being creative, stuff like that.
Have you found it difficult to branch out of just being political and doing other stuff besides that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Only because people, when you're in politics, I feel like it's very taboo to do something out of politics because people suspect you or want you to keep talking about political opinions and stuff like that. But I mean, if I post covers on YouTube, then it almost feels like, oh, well, you're being a grifter. You just want more attention. You just want more popularity. But it's not like that at all.
Okay. Is there anything that you want people to know about you that maybe they don't know?
Um, I guess I think that people think that I'm just very aggressive with my opinion. People think that I'm very closed-minded in some ways, but I think that I'm just really firm on what I believe in and what I value in terms of politics or political opinions. But I think that you should be able to change your mind if you have new facts, if you have new new information. But that's it.
Is that something that you went through? Did you get your belief system from your family, or is it something that's been a recent change in your life where you were on one side and you switched?
I think that so during high school and middle school, I was pretty much with the bandwagon. My friends liked Obama, so I was like, oh, well, I'll like Obama too. And not because I knew anything about Obama's beliefs or Obama's policies, but because it was such a popular thing to like. And so I just went with the bandwagon. But when I was about 16, 17, I started looking at, actual politics and new information from online, doing my own research. And I noticed that my beliefs aligned with the conservative beliefs that I now have. So it was super cool to finally realize what I am. And then I started advocating for Donald Trump, and he was the first president I ever voted for because I was 18 that year. So it was perfect alignment.
Okay. So I'm going to go into now political type questions. So we know that the Republican Party tends to stand to oppose abortion, gay marriage, and it supports limited government and it supports individual liberty.
Mm-hmm.
A few months ago, you made a post on your Instagram of you at an LGBTQ plus pride parade. And when you posted this, you had a lot of backlash from your conservative followers, and they started calling you things like fake conservative, or you're libertarian, or you're not conservative because of your support for gay rights. Do you think that conservatives can be non-Christians and or hold non-traditional beliefs? If so, why?
Yeah, so I posted that post, and a lot of people got it wrong. I think that I was advocating for pro-choice, or I was anti-life or something like that, but that's not the case. I just think that if you have, for example, 90% of conservative values, but one specific value you don't align with, then you're not a conservative, I don't think that's right. I know a lot of conservatives actually who don't have a belief system, for example, like Christianity, stuff like that. I think there's a higher being. I'm agnostic. I don't know what my belief system is. I used to be I used to be around Christians a lot, and I was a Christian for an amount of time, but I think it was mostly because of my family, not because I truly was believing that. But I don't know. I'm just finding myself right now. I'm still young, but I do think that if you conservatism is traditional, but I feel like with times you have to adjust certain things, not all your things, obviously. You still have to have your base of ideology, but don't sway away from that. But you still have to change your opinion based on new information to an extent, if that makes sense.
It does. Going off of that, you made a tweet this past September stating that the boomer conservative mindset is what's ruining conservatism for the newer generation, like our generation. Do you think that conservatives have become rigid in their belief system, in their ideology, liberals tend to be, as you see on like videos like Slightly Offensive, how liberals react to opinions that oppose theirs. Do you think that conservatives are starting to follow that same trend?
Yeah, so I think that there's this whole like gatekeeping mentality where if a certain person is newly informed by the conservative community and they don't have 100% alignment of a particular person's beliefs and they're conservative, they'll automatically shut them down and say, well, you're not a conservative, we don't want you here, which is super dangerous and actually really toxic, because we want this movement to thrive. We want this movement to gain popularity because we want, votes and stuff like that. But I also think that with that comes accepting more people and informing them slowly instead of just saying, well, you don't align 100%, so you're gone. And I think that we shouldn't put ourselves in this political box. I think that we should vary in beliefs, but we should have a main core ideology.
How do you take people who aren't conservative to bring them into the conservative movement instead of just being like you said, you're not conservative, you can't be in this movement?
I think that for conservatives, we have to be more open-minded. We always talk about liberals who are so closed-minded. They don't want to accept facts. They don't want to accept new information that's given to them. But sometimes we do the exact same thing when we have information, but we're so closed-minded in the fact that we believe a certain thing, or we don't want to branch out, or we don't want to hear any other opinions from anyone else. But I don't know. I think we have to inform people slowly, just takes time to change someone's mindset.
Okay. Is there any specific things to you that would be considered the boomer conservative mindset that people should look out for?
I don't think there's a specific boomer mindset, but I think there's a mindset where someone believes that their opinion is always correct and always the idealistic one, which isn't true. I think that your different walks of life from every person is individual, is very different. And it all depends on what you go through as a human being. So that's why it's so different for everyone. And I posted about this a few weeks ago. I said, your individual life experiences is what shapes your political views. And I got so much backlash for that for some reason, but I feel like it's sort of realistic. I mean, if you went your whole life, for example, and you've had bad experiences with a particular group, you're going to probably stereotype that particular group and not like them in the future. And that's just how it is. So. Okay.
And I hope this isn't like a repeat, but what do you hope for the new wave of conservatives?
Honestly, to be more open-minded. I think that right now, especially in society, I think that aside from Twitter, because Twitter is a very dangerous place. I think that once you have these two extreme sides, the very, very liberal SJWs and the very, very alt-right conservatives. And I think that majority of people are in the middle, but they're just not on Twitter. They don't like to express their political views. So, we have these two extreme sides, but it's very important to understand that people who do have opinions that are left and right isn't necessarily toxic. They just have a more, I guess, well-rounded view on life. But I mean, that could be wrong, but that's what I think. And a lot of my friends, conservative friends, and college Republicans at my university, they think a lot like me. We have similar views. We're pretty moderate in a way. We base our views mainly conservative, but we have some liberal views. I feel like that's how it is.
What about when it comes to making friends? Because there's a lot of people that, whether you're Republican or Democrat, you can't be friends with the other person because they don't see eye to eye to you. Is that something that we should improve on, like as a society, to, I don't know, just be better when it comes to conservatism?
Yes, for sure. I mean, I have liberal friends. Them and we debate all the time. It was very friendly debates, but we don't take it to heart. I just think that, they have different experiences than I do. They think differently than I do, but them as a person I like, and that's why I want to be friends with them. If you're friends with people who just think like you, I think you're a control freak. So I think that it's very nice to have a wide range of friends based on personality and based on their character rather than their political mindsets and who they vote for.
I definitely agree with that. I think that when it comes to friends, like if you only have one side of friends, you can't like grow, you can't learn. Because like
Exactly.
I'm sure your liberal friends teach you something new that
Yeah,
you didn't learn, and you teach them something new that they didn't know.
exactly.
So, my next question, in October, there were several flyers posted around your college campus that had a picture of you and a MAGA hat and a picture of the KKK. The
Yes.
posters read, "White supremacy is dangerous. We have to protect our people of color from hate on this campus."
Mhm.
So, the first thing that points out to me is, wouldn't you be considered a person of color because you're
Exactly.
Chinese?
I'm not white.
How does that work?
Yeah, it's sort of two-sided, isn't it? I think that they want to protect the people of color who think a certain way from them or with them. Um, I'm pretty sure I'm a person of color, unless I'm not. I don't know what their definition of that is, but I think is anyone that's not white, correct? Yeah, so I'm not white. I'm super Asian. I'm super 100% Chinese, and they put me as a white supremacist, even though I was just wearing a MAGA hat. I think that it's super controlling how people think that if you look a certain way, if your culture is a certain way, you should vote a certain way. That's like modern day slavery almost. Like you have to vote a certain way because you're a certain type of person. You're not white. So that's really dangerous. Also, when they posted those flyers, they had no factual evidence. They had no source of why I was a racist or white supremacist. I don't know. I feel like if they had a better understanding of what that actually was and the implications of that word, I think they wouldn't have put that. But they're so brainwashed from what they see, from what they hear from the media, that they believe that anyone who votes for Trump is a white supremacist, which is unfortunate. But
Why do you think that people associate Trump supporters with white supremacy and racism?
I think that because a lot of times Trump says, certain things that even conservatives don't sort of agree with. But I think that his outspokenness and his non PC words that he uses is what people get so angry about. And I think that nowadays it's not that he is considered a white supremacist. I think that anything or any opinion that they disagree with is considered a white supremacist, if that makes sense. So I don't think it's anything he says, but anything that they disagree with is what they consider that.
And you think that his non-PC like rhetoric prevents them from actually realizing like what he says or what he does?
I think that I don't know. I think that a lot of people, they don't even listen to the words that Trump says. Just any snippet or any clips that they put on media or certain articles is what they focus on. And I feel like if they just listen to the whole speech or if they listen to the whole policy and know the details of a policy, then they would better understand where he was going with it. But unfortunately, they just listen to this specific clip, and that's a problem.
Okay.
Mhm.
And do you think that your words are hateful for like, because obviously when people post stuff like this
Mhm.
around campus, they are picturing you as someone who is hate speech or racist. Do you think, in your own opinion, that what you say is hateful?
Not at all. I think that majority of the things I say is backed up by facts. For example, I posted something about the crime statistics of like black on black violence or something like that, and they were like, "Oh, well, that's so racist that you're posting specifically that statistic," which is absurd because the person was talking about them in the first place. So no, I don't think anything I say is hateful, but I just think that people need to better understand what the difference is between hatefulness and racism versus just statistics that they don't like to hear.
Okay. And how did this make you feel? Because you were obviously a target. You were kind of compared to white supremacy and the KKK, which is obviously not a group anybody really supports.
Mhm.
So, how did this public attack make you feel, and how'd you deal with that?
Obviously, when I first noticed it, I actually didn't even see it myself. It was my friends who were texting me pictures of it at school, and I said, "Whoa, that's sort of weird." But I saw the pictures and I said, "That's crazy," and I told them to take it down. I was like, "Oh my gosh, anything you see, just take it down," because it's not even just the fact that it made me look bad, but it's sort of dangerous. If anyone who actually believed that, they would try to harm me. For example, also the fact that after the flyers came up, about a week later, there was a group chat on the app GroupMe, and it was saying like my address and like where they could find me, where there's no security cameras. It was just a lot. Yeah. So, and that was in a group chat of 1,400 people. So it was sort of dangerous. And but I tried talking to the police about it. They were investigating, but they didn't really do anything because there was no harm done. Which is, I don't know. I think the justice system is sort of weird too. I wish they reformed it, because why would they wait until something does happen to take action? But yeah.
Have you been harassed in any other way on your college campus outside of this scenario?
Yes. So I was actually in orchestra one day, and we have orchestra rehearsal every Wednesday night or something like that. And there's this girl who, in the middle of break, we have about like a 15-minute break in middle of like 3-hour rehearsals, but like half the people were in the room, half people were out doing something. But she basically called me a racist in class, like full on racist, like really, really loud. And I said, hey, if you feel that way, that's fine, but let's take it outside and let's talk about it outside where no one could listen to it, because it's sort of embarrassing. They don't want to hear that. It's, I don't know. I just think, also when I said that, she was like, no, I don't want to go outside. I just want to talk about it right here. So that she was trying to cause a scene. It wasn't necessarily that she was concerned about what I was saying, but more of she wanted attention. She wanted to feel like a victim. That's why she said that to me. But yeah.
Okay. So I think you kind of touched on this, but we'll go more in depth. So on Twitter, you mentioned that part of the reason why you started supporting your Twitter, Political Kathy, right?
Yes.
In 2016 was to help garner support for Trump's presidential campaign, especially among Asian people.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you support President Donald Trump?
Yeah, I think a lot of his policies, for example, his harsh policies or not harsh policies, but harsh opinions on illegal immigration. And I think that that's justified. For me, my parents and I came first generation legal immigrants from China. I came here when I was 5, and we're US citizens now. And I know that it took such a long time for my parents to actually, get that opportunity to come over here. And it's sort of, it sucks that people are advocating so much for illegal immigrants who come here legally, when we waited our time. We spent so much money on coming over here. So it's almost like a spin in the face when liberals advocate for that. And Donald Trump knows that, and I'm pretty sure, wasn't Melania an immigrant too? So yeah. I think so he knows the details about that. But his policies, his opinions on other conservative values, and I just think that my ideologies align with him more than the Democrats.
You mentioned the illegal immigration. I've noticed that you have some people who follow you who are opposed to all immigration, mm-hmm. even legal immigration, mm-hmm. and you've done your duty to combat that. Like, yeah. Hey, I don't support illegal immigration, but legal immigration, because you are an immigrant. And
exactly.
So I think that's great. Anything else you want to say on that?
Yeah, there's so many trolls now, especially, as I said before, on Twitter, on social media, you always see the two extreme sides, the very mm-hmm. liberal side and the very not liberal side, like a very conservative side. I don't even want to call them conservatives, because they're really not. They're very vicious, they're very hateful. And I'm sure you've seen what they've said on their platforms, and the racist tweets that they tweet out at me just because I don't agree 100% with them. And it's a lot of racial slurs, they also don't like race mixing for some reason. Like, they don't like the fact that some people get married to someone else that they love and it's different race. I don't know, but they have insane ideologies. I don't like that. And for me, even from day one, I advocate for the right to free speech. I advocate for them to post whatever they want on their page. But as soon as it crosses over to me, as in like racial slurs and stuff, I have the right to block them, and they have the right to talk on their page about it, but not on my page. I don't want to see it.
I definitely see that. It's like everywhere. I don't know.
I've been on a blocking spree lately.
It's like, these people, do they not have any time
exactly
to do anything? Like, do they have time to do, like, do they not work? Do they not go to school?
Exactly. And it's not like they make like, one account. They make like 10 accounts. It's crazy.
I saw you had several like Twitter accounts that were like
Oh,
like
yeah.
impersonating you too.
Yes, absolutely. They were kinda smart about it, you know, I give them props for how smart they were about it. They changed the L to a capitalized I, so it looks like a lowercase L on Twitter, so it's super insane. Yeah.
Interesting. So how obviously it's not really like a positive thing in our society to be a Trump supporter. Many
Mhm.
people don't like it. He didn't win the popular vote. How do you get the courage to support him publicly?
Um, I think that I know I'm doing something right in a way. I received private DMs on Instagram a couple of times from a lot of, especially Asian people, Asian Americans, who messaged me and saying, you know, it sucks that all of my friends around me who are also Asian, you know, are very liberal and they always attack the president for something, but I don't want to speak up because I don't want to lose my friends. And I always tell them, like, you know, it's one thing to disagree with someone, but it's another thing to be scared that you'll lose your friends because of your opinions. And they weren't your friends anyway if they judge you based on your opinions. So I don't know. And I think that a lot of times people also message me about, you know, like, oh, how I help them open up about their opinions. I've helped them speak more loudly about it. And that's a good thing. So I'm glad. Yeah,
So that's like inspiration for you to
exactly.
keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the Miss Michigan pageant. So you mentioned that this was your first pageant, right?
Yes.
And a few months ago, you won Miss Michigan title, but you were stripped because of the tweets that were deemed as offensive.
Yeah.
So how quickly were you stripped of that title after you got it?
So, if I remember correctly, I think I got crowned on a Sunday, but I was announced officially the next Wednesday. And then the day after I was announced officially, my title was stripped away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what motivated you to do the pageant in the first place?
Honestly, it was like a bucket list thing. I was like, you know, I see so many girls, especially I watched the Bachelor. I don't know if you're a big fan of Bachelor, but I watched The Bachelor and there's a lot of pageant girls who go on there and whatever. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I only live once, so I'm gonna try to go for it. And I got in, which is really cool, and I got the title. And I never expected that. But then right after, when they saw my tweets, they were like, okay, well, we don't like you. You don't represent us. Your views are hateful and sensitive, and that's what happened.
Did you have a feeling that something like this was going to happen? Because obviously you're really public with your opinions on your Twitter, and we are in a time of cancel culture where people get canceled for things they say on the internet. So did you ever have that feeling that you could potentially, like, if you won, your title could get ripped if they find stuff like that?
I had a little bit of feeling, but I didn't think that they would take it that seriously because for one, I didn't really say anything hateful in the first place. It's all just opinion tweets and tweets about crime statistics and other things, my experiences. But somehow they found it hateful. And I tried to reason with them. The state director actually texted me this information, and she was very like nonchalant about it. She was very like beating around the bush, not telling me why my title was gonna get taken away. And it was just a really messy like situation. But anyway, I ended up returning. Like I literally put the crown and the sash in a plastic bag and like put it on her doorstep and just drove away. I was so upset. But yeah, I wasn't upset that I lost the title, but I was more upset about how they went about it to lose the title, if that makes sense.
Going off on that, how did this experience make you feel? Obviously, like your first pageant, you win unexpectedly and it gets stripped the day after. Like that has to make you feel some sort of way.
Yeah, and it made me feel bad about the pageant story, but it also made me bad. It made me feel sad about the fact that if I wanted to do anything in the public eye, no matter if it's a pageant, a reality show, like YouTube, or anything else, even if I wanted to, for example, like model for a company, if they knew who I was and if they knew my ideology and opinion and my support for the president, they will automatically say, okay, well, we don't want you anymore. And that's so scary. Like, no matter why celebrities don't talk about their political views, you know? And if you look at this, actually one of my friends told me this. They said any celebrity who has not come out as a Hillary supporter is definitely a Trump supporter. And I think that's totally true. I think that celebrities really do want to pander, you know, to their audience, of course. But all the ones who haven't openly talked about which candidate they support, I think supports the president. But
I think then something like that happened with Taylor Swift, where she wasn't political, and people were like saying, "Why aren't you like
oh
being
yeah.
political?" And then when she became political, people were like, "Why are you supporting this?"
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Hmm.
Okay, and so my final question. So obviously on this platform, like I said, like I don't support polarization. I think that I support people to have their own individual beliefs, like I know
Yes.
you do, whether you're conservative or liberal. What's important is that we get along as best as we can.
Yes.
So, what do you think that we can or we should do as a society to not become polarized when it comes to having or sharing our political ideologies or beliefs systems?
Um, I think empathy is a really good answer for that. I think you have to try to put your mindset into someone's shoes when they have an opinion. Um, for example, I'm not a feminist myself. I don't consider myself a feminist. I think that women have all the equal rights as men. But some of my friends, they are pretty feminist. Like they have like feminist stickers on their laptop. And I always ask them like, why do you feel that way? We have all the equal rights. Like, tell me your story. And they keep talking about their experiences with, I guess, like harassment. One of my friends like got raped, and like after that she changed her ideology. It's like very specific instances, and it's anecdotal, but I do understand where they're coming from. And I think that's why I think we should focus on how the other person feels. And I know a lot of conservatives are saying, well, you shouldn't focus on feelings, you should focus on facts. And yes, that is true. But if you empathize with someone and you relate to them, then you could probably step in their shoes and then try to slowly change their mindset about it and say, you know what, that was an incident. Not all men are bad. Not all men, will harass you. There are good people out there. And that's how you slowly transform someone. But if you just say, well, you're stupid, I'm an anti-feminist, you're so stupid, like you don't think, all men, men are victims, like stuff like that, that's not going to change anyone. So you got to really listen to their story first.
I definitely really like the fact that you said step into their shoes, because I usually see conservatives as one word responsible and liberals as grace, but you
Mm,
need both of those things to,
exactly.
because if you only expect people like let's say your employer, if you expect your workers to be responsible, yes, they need to be responsible, but occasionally they're going to mess up, and if you can't give them grace, then
Yeah,
it's not going to
exactly.
work.
I agree.
So I do. If do you have to go anytime soon? Because this is like
No, we're good.
okay. So I was just gonna open this up for you to say anything else that you wanted to say, and then after I would end it, and I just want to like talk to you a little bit about something,
Okay,
but
sure.
outside of the broadcast.
Okay, yeah, no
So
problem.
you have the forum to say anything
Okay.
else you'd like to say that I didn't ask.
Yeah, so I just think that it's very. I'm just stuck in this place where liberals think I'm too extreme, and the conservatives think I'm too liberal. So I constantly get hate from both sides. But I think that like I'm so glad I was able to talk to you today, because I know that we have pretty similar views on things, and that sometimes being pretty moderate on both sides and understanding both sides and where they come from is a good thing. And I think we got to focus more on people's mindsets outside of Twitter and less on people's opinions on Twitter. But that's all I want to leave off with.
So thank you guys for watching that, and thank you to Kathy for being on
Of
here.
course.
I'm pretty sure I linked her social media down below, so definitely check her out, and stay tuned for whatever I have left. So I love you guys, and bye.